Hey you, are you stalling on raising your prices, feeling icky or resistant around selling your offers, or maybe you're showing up and doing all the right things, but you're not quite hitting the income goals you deeply desire? I got you, boo. I was there too, overworking and under-earning, all in my head about whether or not people could afford to pay me or if I had a big enough audience. Until I went all in on the money mindset work that completely changed my life forever. I doubled my income 2 years in a row and hit 6 figures within 13 months of launching my coaching business. My first high-ticket offers filled within a few weeks. I sliced my work hours in half and started taking regular 4-day weekends. I traveled the world to 18 countries, doing work that had me jumping out of bed with excitement every day. I'm going to share with you the exact tools and processes that got me into a healthy and thriving relationship with the way I make money. Create Money the Fun Way is a 12-week money mindset group coaching program for multi-passionate creative entrepreneurs who are ready to create a 6-figure income in your soul work by choosing to heal your money mindset, stop settling for less or making choices out of fear, and make the moves to make the money you want in your dream business now. Clients who have been through this work have made tens of thousands of dollars within a matter of weeks. Doors are officially open. Go to withsarahmac.com/create money.
Creative Magic What's up? This is Sarah Mac and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together, we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a 6-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I'm here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun.
Hi everyone, welcome. I have a very special guest, someone who is very dear to me, who I've been trying to get on this podcast for years at this point. She's amazing, and she is actually my original astrology teacher. So you have her to thank. I am now talk about astrology all the time. And her name is Natalie Holbrook. She is a gifted intuitive astrologer, entrepreneur, and business coach. And she's also the founder of Holy Wealth, a transformative program designed to help you unlock your full potential in your business and life by blending mysticism with the material world. Her method empowers you to create magnetism and money. She's also the author of upcoming best-selling book, God, Astrology, and You, and she speaks on stages and hosts retreats worldwide. Hi, Natalie.
Hello, Sarah Mac.
Yeah. So I could tell you so many stories about how amazing this woman is, but I want to dive into the juice that is you are going to love. She's going to talk about sales and astrology and money magnetism and astrology, and just take it from me, like as someone who witnesses the way this woman lives her life. Like, she is a magician. She's always flittering away on some new exciting adventure and like living her best life and just, you know, really like positively impacting every single person that you come into contact with. And she's introduced me to so many amazing people. So if you don't know her already, you're welcome. And before we dive into sales and money and astrology, and we're also going to talk about how Natalie helped me pick the launch date for my book, which is coming up, which is a very karmic date for me, which I'm really excited to share that process with you. Why don't you tell us, like, how did you get into being a magical, intuitive astrologer?
Yes, well, thank you so much for all of the beautiful words. Oh my goodness, our Gemini moons are always just like so excited to be together and
Yeah.
like these little fairies dancing around. Yeah, astrology was this surprise, to be honest. It was a surprise from the universe. I never set out to become an astrologer. To be honest, I wasn't even really into astrology that much when I was younger. I'm a Taurus, and when I was younger, I was actually a lot more like Aries style. Like I was like, go get it and make things happen, and like a little rambunctious. I was a punk rocker. I was always at concerts in San Francisco and
Same.
couch surfing, and yeah. And so when I would read things about Taurus, I was like, no, this isn't real. And then I was in Bali. Let's see, this was 2015, so almost 10 years ago, and I had my first ever astrology reading. And my reader there, he was like, you're not just a Taurus, but you actually have a ton of Gemini energy and you're a Leo rising. And he was like, the Gemini in you is very mischievous and she loves reading and writing and, she's fun and poetic and maybe a little rebellious. And the Leo part of you is this like celebrity energy and it's kind of this like showy but fun and warm and generous and loud and playful. And when he said all that, I was like, all right, there's something to this. And I've always loved anything esoteric. I actually started going to psychics when I was 17 years old. I would drive up to San Francisco, which is where I was from, a little town a little bit further south. And I started to see psychics on the regular. And so being introduced into the world of astrology, it was like, oh, this is something that actually stimulates my mind and I can use this as a structured tool. And I got really into it when I was actually going back to school to study and get a master's in nutrition. And there was something that was just feeling very off on that path for me, but I was in a very kind of confused state. I didn't really know what I should be doing, and it felt like this was the only thing that I should be doing. And I was going through a deep period of loneliness as well. And one day I was listening to a podcast about Pisces energy, and they were saying that if you have Pisces energy, you always have to go through this almost like rites of passage through loneliness and through separationism. And I was like, I feel like I've been lonely my entire life, even though I have a million friends and I've, been lonely in relationships. And I was like, what if I somehow have this Pisces energy? What does that mean? And I ran home, I pulled up my birth chart. Turns out that I have Jupiter in Pisces in the 8th house, which is the underlying Scorpio energy. So it's kind of this like double hit of deep, deep, deep emotions and a lot of existentialism. And after that moment, I found a teacher, this amazing woman named Donna Stellhorn in Orange County. And I would go down and visit her and see her. And we would spend hours together. I would drive down from LA, which is about 2 hours away. And we would just, go for it. And within 3 months of learning and studying with her, it was as if someone had hit a button on me that was like, remember. And from that point, it felt like astrology was just this remembering and it came supernatural. And then COVID hit and I started an astrology business and here we are.
Wow. I didn't realize you started. But I always trip out whenever people are like, I started my business in 2020. I don't know why. It just feels like it was so long ago and yet not so long. And yeah, and you have a really amazing capability of just like remembering everybody's charts and everybody's placements. And yeah, like you're like a psychic astrologer. Like the information just like is present in your mind at all times. Like you don't even have to like look stuff up half the time, I swear.
Yeah, it's I think that that's actually kind of the magic of having that Jupiter in the 8th house, to be honest, because that underlying Scorpio energy remembers everything, right? And same with Taurus. Like those are kind of the things of like we hold on to things, right? And it's a blessing and a curse. But then that Pisces is really just like I come in and it's just like, okay, channel, hope you were recording because I have no idea what I just said.
So talk to us about how you discovered like your gift for sales and how that has played into astrology and how you kind of bring those two skill sets together and why it's so fun for you.
Oh my gosh, I love sales. So, it actually all started when I was 23 years old. I don't know if you even know the story, but I moved to Las Vegas and I had originally moved out there as an intern. And when I got there, the woman that I was interning for was like, oh, actually, I can't pay you. But you're really cute and you have a good personality. So why don't you do this job that I also do on the side? We're called club promoters. And we basically just go around and talk to people on the strip and get them to come to our club. And you can make like 5K a month. And, that was 15 years ago. So I was like, 5K a month. Whoa. And I was just like, sure, like I want to go to all the clubs for free. I want to like, rub shoulders with the nightlife hosts and all of that. And so I started to do that. And that was really my introduction into sales, was literally going up to people and learning how to hustle, essentially. And after that, I got really burnt out. I actually left living in Las Vegas because I got sick. But I was always kind of like magnetized back to these sales jobs. I lived in San Francisco for 4 years. And while I was living there, my way in was through sales. I became what's called an SDR, a sales development representative, and then moved into being an account executive. And while I was in these roles, I would always finagle freedom. And what I would do is I would figure out, well, how is it that I either A, don't have to work in the office because this was pre-COVID, or that I can somehow like make this really, really fun. So I was very creative in this. My Gemini moon just like loved thinking of these new ways. And so as I would do that, I would always either, be like, I'm going to lead an outside sales department, or why don't we try it this way? And so I was always kind of coming up with these new ways. And it gave me this sense of purpose because I was connecting with people. I felt like I had this ability to somehow support and help them. And then I obviously made a lot of money from it. So I kind of felt like, this is so cool. I get to get paid by being myself and by also having fun and talking with others. It was never like, give me your money. It was like, how are we having this win-win type of situation? So then, 4 or 5 years later, I learned astrology and I learned all of this Gemini information about me, which is also in the 11th house, which is all about connections and groups and organizations and people and friends and technology specifically. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is why I've loved sales so much, because it is this way of transformation, this way of connection. And when we now bring this into business and, in the coaching world and the creative world and the entrepreneurship world, when you tap into your Gemini energy and also into your energy that your Mercury signs rules, which is how you communicate. And then we look at, well, what is the best way that you can also make this something that you're so confident in selling yourself that other people are just magnetized to you, where it's almost like they're magnetized to you and then you bring in the sales process, right? So there's kind of this whole beautiful synthesis that we can do within the astrological birth chart to see what are all these gifts and patterns and talents that you have, and then bring in the sales connection. But the first piece is always confidence.
Are you a healer, witch, creative, or magical entrepreneur who's ready to fill your high-ticket one-on-one or group coaching program, and you want a sales page that will do the selling for you? Maybe you're tired of having a calendar full of sales calls, and you want a sales page that can clearly articulate your offer and guide interested clients to feel ready to buy without needing to talk to you first. Maybe you already have a sales page and people are clicking on it but not reaching out, and you want to feel clear on what to say and what not to say to turn interested people into actual buyers. Having sales pages for my offers has led to filling a high-ticket group coaching program with 10 clients at $1,000 each while traveling on vacation for 2 weeks and launching using repurposed content. Having 5-figure months from sales into my $5,000 evergreen mastermind with no live launching beyond daily social media content. Signing clients into my $17,000 private mentorship program with no sales calls. When you book my Cosmic Sales Intensive, you'll walk away with a full, clear, compelling sales page for your high-ticket offer that will attract ready-to-buy clients and that you can continue to make sales with for years to come. Clients who have been through this offer have created a sales page that went on to sell out a high-ticket relationship coaching mastermind, had 20 applications within 48 hours of publishing, sold several $15,000 private mentorship packages, and even had a 6-figure launch with the sales page and content strategy we created within just a few weeks. Stop losing people with fluffy language that sounds the same as so many others in your industry, and clearly articulate why your work is worth $5,000 to $10,000 plus, even when you sell things like astrology, human design, breathwork, mindset coaching, or energy work. Book your Cosmic Sales Intensive now at withsarahmac.com or via the link in my description. $100%. Funnily enough, I also did a little bit of club promotion when I was in
Oh my gosh.
university. Yeah, because I was just like out every night going to the see music and was just obsessed with it. And I used to sell tickets for the events, some of the events that I went to. And yeah, it's funny when you end up in business and then you look back into your past and you see how all these little chapters were just kind of like, guiding you and giving you skill sets and insights. And there's always like a thread that runs through everything that kind of develops as you get older and as you learn to, embody things more and more in the ways that are more authentic to you and, figure out what that looks like. But I love this conversation, especially for my audience, because I know that's one of the biggest things that people get stuck with, especially when you're highly sensitive and you're creative and you're spiritual. Like, there's so much resistance around selling. And, as someone who grew up with, my dad was like a computer sales manager and was always like using those like hard sales techniques and like never letting anyone say no and just being like really kind of like brutish and just like staying on the phone for hours until you get the sale. And like, I think we all have some version of that, or like the sleazy car salesman that we associate with selling that just makes us want to curl up in a ball and be like, no, like I'm not going to do that. Like I'm not capable. But just knowing that there are so many ways to reframe the conversation. And also, there's so many ways to do it. And I love this idea of using our chart as a way to find our way, find the way that's like, we are innately gifted and good at, and the strengths that we have that we can really lean on, because sales is ultimately, it's connection and it's service. Um, so what would you say to people who are like, I really want to be making more money. I really want to impact more people with my work, but I hate sales. I'm not interested in learning about sales. I don't, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. One thing I hear from people is I don't want to do it like everybody else. Like, I don't want to be like all the other people who are like sending 50 emails or whatever their perception of how everyone else is doing it that doesn't feel kind of like congruent or exciting to them. Like, what would you say to those people?
I would first say I get it, because I think that everyone does need validation at first. But then I would say, if you are not doing sales, I have to give you a wake-up call. You're actually being selfish. Okay.
I love that.
And sometimes we just need a little tough love, right?
Mhm.
And the reason that I say you're being selfish is because you're not actually sharing your gift, right? Because how else is anyone going to know if it's out there? And so it's first of all about, okay, looking at, well, what are you afraid of? Is it rejection? Is it that you're nervous that people are going to judge you? Is it that you're nervous? Because there's always this deep underlying something. Is it that you're nervous that, are you a people pleaser? And so you feel like you're going to come across pushy. Is it that you actually don't feel worthy? Like, we really need to look at these pieces before we can even get into the sales conversation. And in our chart, we can look at our Saturn, we can look at our Chiron, which is something I know you work a lot with. We can look at our moon sign, because a lot of times you might be like, actually, I'm okay to do it, but your moon sign is so scared because that's your emotions and your needs. And maybe your moon sign is not being nourished, right? Like, where you're like, I want to do it, I want to do it, I want to do it, but I'm going so hard on my business and I'm not even giving myself love or time. Like, are you actually nourishing you as a person and then your business? Because the business is just an extension of you. So that would be the first thing, is that it's kind of all like looking at these energetics and looking at where you're at and using the chart to support that. And then I would get into, okay, well, are you actually clear on what you're selling? Like, do you feel that you are confident in that? So really diving into that. And with that, there's a few pieces in the chart that we can look at, like your sun sign. We can look at your 10th house, which is how you are recognized in the world. We can look at your rising sign, which is how the world perceives you, your midheaven, which is also how you should be doing your work, right? Like, are you aligned with these things? And then sales is honestly the last piece, where it's like, okay, now once we've essentially like judged you up, then let's get you out in front of people. And the trick is looking at, well, you're not your dad. You're not a used salesperson. You're not talking to the people who are coming into the used sale lot. Those are not your ideal clients, right? Like, so it's a completely different conversation. And when you can turn on the sisterhood energy, where it's like, hey, I have this thing that I'm so passionate about, but first of all, what are you looking for? What do you want? What's going on in your life? And then seeing, can I really support this person, right? Like, is what I have, what is also going to transform them? And it gets to be this really exciting thing. One of my mentors currently, she says, track the aliveness. And when you're having these sales calls, they don't have to necessarily be sales calls, quote unquote. It's more of, are you both feeling this excitement and this aliveness? Is this experience, the potential of what's coming out of this experience in your potential transformation, moving you? And is it something that from that, you're like, of course, take $5,000, or of course, I'm going to manifest $5,000, or whatever it is, to figure out how to make this happen. And when we can just make those subtle shifts in our, mindset, then of course there's all these little technicalities that we can also go into too, right? Of listening more and mirroring. And honestly, it's really about being intuitive. And I think that if you are someone who is a coach, a healer, an intuitive type of person, you are someone who is working with your own guidance from the universe, and you actually just need to remove whatever filter you have that you're so afraid of with sales, to take it off, to see the reality of this person actually needs my support, and I'm doing a disservice to them if I don't show up and say, hey, here's how I can help you.
Yeah, this is so good. I hope everyone's taking notes because you just shared so many gems. And just to like underscore the big pieces here, I think like all of that work that you do before you even get to selling, like the clarity, the confidence, the alignment, the just focusing in the right place. And I see this in my clients all the time because I do a lot of work with, like offers and high ticket offers. Once we're clear on what the offer is and we're clear on like the story, there are parts of the story that really sell that offer. And they feel like, oh, I can see I'm connected to my value. I can see how this is valuable. I feel that. I feel connected to that. And I can see how to communicate that. Suddenly, like that clarity locking in, that excitement when it locks in, like clients start to show up. And when you've done all of that internal work, the selling piece just feels like a conversation, when you're so plugged in and connected. And yeah, obviously there's a lot of strategy, particularly in the online world. And I think both are really important. And I think you can do the internal work without all of the fancy strategy and it will still work. Like when you can get to that place where you feel like you're authentically able to speak from the heart about what you have to offer and who it's for and why it's valuable. But the strategy is there, it's super helpful too. And it can just like increase your success rate and give you some metrics to kind of guide your action and the things that you're doing so that you're not just kind of like, intuitively magnetizing and manifesting clients, which is great. And obviously you can do that, but also so you have some strategy that can like do the work for you when you're maybe having an off day or you like want to take some time away from your business. So I think both are really important. And especially now, I think it's important to honor both sides because there's a lot of like the feminine business, which is all about magnetism and manifestation and drawing people in, which obviously is really powerful, is like a really fun way to do business, but it's also a skill set, and like knowing how to guide people, knowing the certain ways of communicating that are very intentional in guiding people to what's best for them, whether that's buying from you or not buying from you. So I think it's so amazing that you're bringing like the full spectrum of skill and approaches to be able to support people with this because it's so, so needed. And yeah, like it's time to amp it up, it's time to like stop complaining about having to learn sales because you can't have a business, you can't have the level of the impact that you want to make and have the abundance and the enjoyment of like really fulfilling sharing your gifts with this world without this skill. And I didn't have any real skills in sales, and it didn't take me that long of just investing in myself, working with mentors, practicing, using the scripts to begin with until I had integrated these ways of talking to people, finding my own way that felt good for me, getting it to work strategically. Like just do it is so important, right?
Absolutely, and there's kind of like one thing too is you have to take yourself seriously as a business, or as a business owner, whatever it is that you do. I look at the companies that I worked for before I was doing this for myself, and one of them, like they were all startups actually. One of them was Indiegogo, if you know that, the Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if Indiegogo was like, I think this is what we're doing, but we don't really know how we're paying our people out. And we just like, our marketing department just quit. Like, it wouldn't work. Like, there was no way that I could sell if all of the other pieces were there. The salespeople are actually the last people that you hire in a company. And so you have to have all of the other confidence, values, strategy, marketing, then the sales comes in. So it's completely like you get to do all of that work first. And sometimes you don't even need to do a sales call because that's where if you have a great sales page or if you have really, amazing, like a social media campaign that's bringing someone to a digital product or something, you're still selling though. So you still get to figure out, well, what is my voice? We can look to the Mercury placement. We can look to the rising sign. Who am I talking to? And it just all comes back to clarity.
Yeah, and also what you said, even before all of that, is like taking care of you, especially when you're a personal brand and like your energy and your voice is such a big part of the magnetism and like your visibility and marketing strategy. It's like you have to take care of you and like all of those self-care strategies need to be prioritized just as much as all of the work strategies because you can't be burning out. And you can't be like, if your heart isn't in it because you are tired and you don't have the energy to care, like people will feel that and that will impact your sales. So even before everything else, those foundations need to be there. And yeah, I love what you said. It made me think I was having a thought today because one of the bundles I was promoting recently, I had my Anatomy of a Sales Conversation training, which I made years ago. And I was reflecting on what my DM sales conversations look like these days. And I'm like, I don't even have sales conversations with people anymore. They're literally just like people DM me and they're like, I want to join your program. And I'm like, yay, here's the link, and like, obviously, I put the work in to make sure that people have all the information that they need. Obviously, I'm happy to have conversations with people and support them if they need help in making a decision, but it just rarely happens anymore. Usually people just show up and they're ready to buy. So, but I had to go through that process of learning how to do that so I could integrate that into my sales system through my content. So yeah, there's no right way or wrong way. There's many, many, many different ways. And it's okay to go through a strategy that maybe doesn't feel like the best for you long term in order to build those skills, which then you can take and run with and, build your business in the way that you want to and the way that works for you long term. So definitely stay tuned to Natalie's content. I'm so excited to hear you talk more about this and in your upcoming program launch, which we will talk about. But before we dive into that, I want to touch on how you helped me pick the launch date for my book. So this is something that I've started to dabble in for myself and for my clients in looking at transits and just paying attention to good times to do things, bad times to do things. So can you share a little bit of wisdom of like what your process is around that and some of the things that you look for and how you helped me to pick this date?
Yes. And do you want to share the date with everyone?
Yeah, so it's December 5th. And so I spoke to Natalie about it. She picked this date. Then I had a reading with another astrologer that I work with that I won, that I manifested. And she noticed like even, this is the thing about your astrology chart. You can stare at it for hours and then like more layers will just reveal themselves to you with all of the dynamics that are at play. But basically it's activating. So Mars is conjunct my Mars in the 11th house, which is all about like taking action, speaking to groups of people, the community, humanitarianism, technology. And then it's squaring my North Node in Taurus in the 9th house, which is all about teaching and guiding. And it's that like creative stability, which is really the topic of my book. The Six-Figure Creative, heal your relationship with money, doing the work that you love. And then that is squaring Jupiter in Aquarius in the 5th house, which is like my creative gift. And then that is squaring, I believe it's my South Node in the 3rd house of communication in Scorpio, which is all about like alchemy and communication. So it's really like me stepping into sharing my gifts and doing my work and teaching and guiding and sharing my work with people on like a larger stage.
Yes, yes. And that's actually just one piece. So
Right.
it's really fun because there's literally like hundreds of different aspect combinations that we could touch on. But when we chose this date, the first thing, so what I always do is, you pull up your chart and then you pull up the transit chart as well and see what's going on. And I have it in front of me right here. So I'm going to name off a bunch of stuff that's happening because there's so many amazing things. Is that, well, first of all, it's on a Thursday, and Thursday is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter is about expansion and optimism and blessings and growth. So automatically, this is a really good, energy that we're moving into. And the sun is directly on your Uranus. And so what that means is that there's just this opportunity for literally anything to be happening because Uranus is sudden change. It's like change in who you are. It's change in events happening. Obviously we want to make sure all the tech is good for this. But what I love about this Uranus energy is that it is bringing in surprises, right? It's like, oh, this is so exciting. And especially because your Uranus is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is literally the sign of the author and the publisher and the published. And so your sun Sun is saying like, here I am, I'm taking on this whole new identity now as an author. And it is directly next to Mercury. And what I love about this too is that you are actually being seen as someone, as a communicator, as a writer, as this person who has a lot to say and a message to share. And, you know, it's actually Mercury retrograde. And some people would be like, oh, don't do anything during Mercury retrograde. Listen, Mercury retrograde is half of the year. Okay. So it doesn't really matter. But what I love about this specifically is that in your book, you're not like, here's a book about the future. You're actually going back and talking about your past, your family, and this Mercury retrograde is in your house of family and foundation and roots, the fourth house. And you're talking about, you know, where you came from. You're talking about your trauma. You're talking about how you worked through things and what you had to do to liberate yourself to be this wealthy witch, you know? And so it's like that Mercury is even pulling in here too. And Mercury is at 14 degrees as well, which is also conjunct that Uranus. So that's just one piece that is, you know, really amazing. Again, because it's the Mars return, you know, there is this level of activation of additional energy, additional information, and additional just momentum that is coming through. And then we also have this really amazing what's called a stellium when we have multiple planets that are in this kind of cluster together. And I love the way that this stellium is playing out because it's Venus in Capricorn, which is all about how are we making money through our business? How are we also making money through our legacy? And it is conjunct or next to Pluto, which is a death and rebirth, a transformation. So the way that you are making money just by putting this stake in the ground is changing forever. And then it's transforming you forever. So I wouldn't even be surprised if like your baby comes this day. Like there's some magic happening with children and with play and with fun and with money and resources and partnerships and women. And the reason I say that about the children too is because then the moon is here, and the moon is it's being a mother, it's being maternal, it's our needs, it's our emotions, it's how we feel. And I think one of the actual best pieces of this placement is that the moon is conjunct to Jupiter, to your natal Jupiter, which means that there is going to be this expansion of you birthing something. And this is exactly what you're doing. And it's in the sixth house. So in the other reading that you had, I believe the astrologer was using Placidus. And so the houses change a little bit, but I use whole sign. And in the whole, and I think it's always great to look at both actually. But the whole sign is that this is your sixth house, which is of routine, of day to day, of also money and health and wellness. And with that, you know, the sixth house sometimes doesn't get enough credit, but it's really like, what is our day-to-day environment? So this book launch is expanding what your day-to-day environment is. That, again, coming back to that kind of stake in the ground analogy, is that this is potentially even creating the funds, because sixth house, money house, of what your new home, what your new day-to-day life will be like, all from this event.
So this book is going to help me buy a house. Love that. I'm going to say that intentions.
Sister. Yep.
Thank you for sharing that. So awesome. As you can see, she's an amazing astrologer. Everyone should go book a reading and work with her. So tell us, like, what have you got going on? How are you supporting people? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I am going to be announcing a new program that is called Holy Wealth. It will be coming at the end of December as kind of a pre-launch where you can join then, but the official huge date of that coming into aliveness is going to be in January. I will be having a 3-day masterclass where I'm going to be teaching all of these things about sales, about marketing, about writing, about confidence, clarity, the subconscious blocks, all of the things that come along with what goes on when you are in this business realm and using it all through the lens of astrology and magic and manifestation. So that masterclass will be December 10th, 11th, and 12th. So in about 2 weeks from whenever you listen to this. And then there will be another kind of free online event happening in January. And then we'll be kicking off Holy Wealth. It will be a journey where we'll have a closed container. It's going to be a group program. People will be able to learn how to live in alignment with their chart for their business, but really to manifest anything that you want in the world. And there will be a really amazing community of women, like internationally. And one thing that I'm really excited about is actually working with people on upping their sales skills. So I'll be watching their sales recordings. I'm going to have this thing on Slack called the Mystical Bazaar, where you can go in and practice selling to each other and do trades with each other. So you can build up your testimonials, build up your confidence. It will be this whole thing where it's like this accelerator into you truly being in alignment with your highest self, not just in your business, but in everything that you do.
Oh my God, it sounds amazing. Yay. So excited for your event. I could listen to you talk about astrology all day long. So thank you so, so much for being here. And thank you everyone for listening. If you know anyone who would love this episode, please share it with them and stay tuned and we'll see you next week. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing.
I'm not a millionaire yet, but I know that I need to be to retire comfortably. Being a millionaire is no longer a pie in the sky ideal for a lucky few. It's a fact of life and necessity for us all. Along with knowing this, I also know I am unwilling to sacrifice my precious life working in any way that compromises my values of authenticity, freedom, health, happiness, connection, and impact. So I have a plan to become unshakably financially stable in the way that I want to get there. And I want us to build wealth, freedom, and impact together. I went from broke, burnt out, overwhelmed, overcommitted, and very money avoidant to doubling my income 2 years in a row and making 6 figures in my dream business as a money mindset and brand strategy witch for creative entrepreneurs. And I've learned to save, keep, and grow my wealth in ways that feel fun, all thanks to the power of a deep and committed money mindset practice. I know that these practices will take me to any amount of money I desire to build in my life. The key part of it is the practice part. That's why I birthed Millionaire Witch Club. It's a place to come together on the full moon to reconnect with your money goals, stay focused, and get clear on the next steps to get there without sacrificing your authenticity, health, or happiness. We'll dive deep into your existing belief system in your relationship with money and examine, clean up, and elevate the thought systems that are influencing the actions you take so you can create wildly different results. You'll leave feeling clear, confident, and supported to go make big moves, to make more, grow more, and love your life more as you impact others through your unique medicine and purpose here in this lifetime while you build your net worth to $1 million plus. Millionaire Witch Club will take place around the full moon each month, and it's free. Sign up at withsarahmac.com or via the link in the description.